Welcome to the Women in Industry podcast. My name is Kirsty Davies-Chinnock, and today I'm joined by Amanda Marshall, who's the director and designer at Three Donkeys Limited. Three Donkeys design and manufacture ladies' coveralls, and they are a revolution in outdoor women's workwear. They're practical, adaptable, versatile. They're fully registered, revolutionary 2-in-1 design, are the first women's work coveralls to consist of a separate jacket and trouser, conveniently joining at the waist with a full-length heavy-duty zip for full protection, and they allow for fast and easy removal whenever you need them to. And they are proudly designed in Devon. So welcome, Amanda. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Hi, and thank you for having me.
So I discovered you on LinkedIn through Catherine Evans Boulder's Brass, who was jumping about in some of your coveralls and testing them. And she does give these a good workout with full lunges and everything else.
Yeah.
So let's go right back to the beginning. Why did you design the coverall? Why did you need them?
So basically, I had a day-old baby and I was back lambing because we had at the time a small flock of Shetland sheep, and Bertie, my youngest daughter, who's now 16, so it goes to say how long the journey has been, was a day old, and I live in coveralls through the winter as a rule, but I've always struggled to get out of them, and at that point it was a bigger struggle and not the most pleasant of experiences. So I thought there must be something more out there, and there wasn't. And so I set about designing my own.
And coveralls are a standard outdoor workwear for women who are farmers, who work the land, who work in more industrial environments where they need protection.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been worn for, gosh, years and years and years. So do we know why there wasn't anything out there, or was it just women?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. I think there's generally been that sort of, people don't really care, I think. And women have, throughout, history, just get on with it. So we, and I think it's more a case of, oh, we'll tweak an all-in-one, which is the standard, and then we'll say they're for women, where actually all they've done is just, tweak them here, tweak them there, and everything else. And one thing I found actually with the design is the development is really difficult. I mean, our first ones were in development for probably 2.5 years, and I have got boxes of samples just to sort of try and get it right and get the sizes right. So I think it's a combination of actual difficulty and why do we need to, which is what I got asked a lot when I was speaking to manufacturers at the beginning, and people at the beginning, it was like, this is what I want to do, and there was a very much a case of, well, why do you need to, why do you want to? And it soon became, sort of quite evident that you just had to turn around and say, well, why not?
And women have worked on farms in Devon, Wales and Cornwall and Scotland for generations. It's not a new industry that women are now going into. They've always done it. So having to put up with these things, and then the time you've put into get the designs developed, and go through the different stages to be where you are now, that could have been done 60 or 70 years ago.
Of course it could. But I think it's just easier to sort of, keep everybody. I mean, it's like when you look at women's workwear sort of as a whole, and the percentage of the actual market. I mean, I'm no expert at all, but just to the sort of layman that I am, it seems to me that that percentage is low, because how many women are having to wear men's stuff?
Yeah. And
So it's
even,
not a true reflection. I
no,
don't
it's not.
believe it's a true reflection, because I think there's a lot more women out there who are having to put up with everything. And to be honest with you, Catherine has highlighted that to me in much bigger terms than I ever realised. But then I'm not in industry per se. You know, at the end of the day, I've got, you know, I do a bit of farming, but predominantly I'm just a mum.
Well, you say that you're not an entrepreneur, you're, you know, you do a bit of farming and you're just a mum, but you're not. You've had this fantastic idea, you've gone through the development of it, and you've set up a company to do that. Um, and you've won so many awards. Um, uh, you know, I stalk people on LinkedIn and look at what they've done for when I'm going to talk to them. Ryan Reynolds viewed your profile.
I know. I must admit, I have told my kids that that's going to go on my gravestone. You know, as far as anybody in the world is concerned, Ryan Reynolds stalked me.
Well, that's the title of the podcast. Ryan Reynolds stalked him.
So, you know, as far as I was concerned, you know, I'm not on I'm not very good with LinkedIn, but it was a moment of my work here is done.
Yeah, completely. And he's doing so many great things in the UK with Wrexham. You know, it's
No.
maybe he wants to get into farming. You know,
I
it'd be
mean, he would
quite
look
good.
fabulous in purple.
He would. He would.
Who knows?
So when you decided that, even though you're not an entrepreneur, which I can never say, but you are, and you came up with the designs and you set up the business. You called it Three Donkeys, which are after your three donkeys, who were called Willie, Teabag,
No,
and
Woolly.
Dave.
Woolly. She's
Yeah,
Woolly. Not Willy,
Willie
she's Woolly.
is she?
Woolly.
Willie, Teabag, and
Woolly.
Dave.
Yes.
So I love the fact that there's a Dave.
Oh, it had to be. Dave was born here. He's Teabag's son. Um, so and yeah, and you know, if you're gonna have, it was either gonna be Kevin or Dave.
Yeah,
So
no, it's got to be
it
Dave.
stuck
Yeah.
with Dave.
And it's nice that your business has that personal link to you and your family, and your farm and everything. And it's such a memorable name.
Mm.
If you've got John Smith Workwear, Jane Smith Workwear, Three Donkeys, you're going to remember Three Donkeys. Um, was it just a whim, or did you look at branding and how
So,
you could
no,
be memorable?
I
Or
mean, no. I mean, to be honest with you, it all came about. I'd had my idea in my head for a long time, and I'm not you know, I'm not very creative in the drawing and being able to get ideas from my head down onto paper. And we had a few horses here on livery at one point, and one of the mums that used to come up was like, I am fed up of going home and going to work stinking like a stable. Is there any anything, you know? And there's nothing, there was nothing around that she liked. And I said, oh well, I've got an idea, but I don't know how to get it onto paper. And fortunately, she was in marketing. She's actually one of these very clever people, and her best friend was a fashion designer in Australia. So yeah, we had a Skype call, and Flick managed to get the designs from my head onto paper, which then allowed me to go and get them registered and do all that. So you know, it's and during this whole process, I was trying to think of a name, and I struggled trying to work out what on earth to call it, because I didn't want it to be a cliche name, because I didn't know where this journey was going to take me. You know, we could start off with coveralls and end up, who knows, you know. So I didn't want something that was purely reference to the coveralls. And basically, Angela, the same woman who helped me at the beginning, when Dave had been born, and I put on my personal Facebook the three of them disappearing down the lane in the direction they shouldn't have been again. And she just messaged and said, why don't you call it Three Donkeys? and that was how the name sort of came about. So, and it is really just a name, but it does stand out, and people do remember it.
You said you didn't know where this journey would go. If you say you didn't want to call it something, Amanda's coveralls type thing. And you've recently gone into a new partnership with a hi-vis clothing specialist, Leo Workwear. So you're going to produce an exclusive range of 3 Donkeys hi-vis women's workwear.
Yeah.
How exciting is that?
No, it is really exciting. So fortunately for us, Leo are only in Barnstable, which is about 20 odd miles from where we are, which is great. And we've been looking for a more major manufacturer, because I had the design and I knew it worked, and we've got coveralls all over the world now, but I knew that hi-vis was an area that it would be beneficial to. So we met up with Peter up at Leo, and it sort of was straight away, because they're really forward thinking in the women's workwear range. So it was a perfect thing. They got my innovation and I got their manufacturing. So I think they're launching the hi-vis ones in a few weeks' time. But what it allowed us to do is produce the blue and navy version, because not everybody wants to walk around in hi-vis, and we predominantly sell to the equestrian and agricultural markets. And although there is a need for hi-vis in those areas, not everybody wants to. So one of the things we sort of said to them is like, right, fine, you're more than welcome, let's use my design as much as you want, but we would like you to make for us exclusively the blue ones, which is what they were brilliant, and they've pulled out all the stops. So we had them to launch at Burley Horse Trials last month. Literally we went up with my horse trailer and collected the first shipment at midday on the Tuesday when we left for Burley at 9 o'clock that evening. It was a close run thing, but they pulled out all the stops, they got it, and we were able to launch. And then the following week we went to BETA, which is the British Equestrian Trade Associations, in it was their trade show, BETA International, where we won Product of the Year 2023 for clothing and footwear, which is amazing. So that was really nice, because it's almost like the designs come full circle, and and then with the Leo side with the hi-vis and us, between us, it's sort of hopefully going to really be a bit of a game changer for the women who need to use them.
It is. I mean, there are other companies out there who've been working to look at putting more hi-vis and protective workwear clothing out there for women, but they're quite difficult to find. And they don't sort of really shout about it. The fact that Leo have been so excited about this and work so well with you, it comes across that it's very important that you work with people who share the same values that you have.
Definitely.
So you're collaborating with Leo, you've collaborated with Catherine to an extent at Boulders Brass, and you're obviously going to collaborate with other people going forward. What is the most important value that you look for when working with other people?
I think it's people that sort of have a passion for what they're doing. I'll be honest, it's been a big struggle, because we've had to educate the market. This is the first type of it. It's the first one in the world, and everything else. And it's been a slog to sort of get it to this point. And it's taught me that although, you know, there are people out there who are extremely positive, and I've seen more positivity than I have negativity, I think when it comes to things for women, you need people that want to shout about it, that want to make a change, and not just, you know, sort of like gender wash it. You know, if that makes sense. So, I mean, this is where Leo was great because, you know, they were local to us, and also they, you know, they are making, you know, sort of real shake-ups on it, and that's where, like, Sir Catherine. So, you know, it's a case of, you know, I am who I am, and I am what I am, and I, you know, and I just prefer people to be straight up and passionate about what they're doing, and then we can work together. And not to treat me like an idiot. I do get that quite a lot.
Yeah, I get what you mean. It's one of the phrases you use on your website and in interviews I've seen you that you've done in the past is that you're liberating the loo break.
Yeah.
And there's quite a lot of talk at the moment with HR companies and things like that on the menopause and everything else. And you mentioned gender washing there earlier, and it's sort of making sure that these things aren't going into large companies and sort of people are paying lip service to it rather than actually doing something about it. I was talking to someone in a previous podcast, and we were talking about encouraging women into manufacturing. And, you know, when they come back from maternity leave, that's all well and good, but there's nowhere for them to go and pump if they're breastfeeding. You know, you've got to go and sit in the loo or a stall cupboard or something. And it's looking at, they're not small things, they're needed things, the same way that coveralls for women are needed that fit properly. And the same with hi-vis.
Yeah.
I still take exception with you when you just say, I'm just a mum, because you're yes, that's obviously one of your important roles, but you know, you're a farmer, you're a designer, you're a director of a company.
Well, yeah, but I'm still just a mum who does some stuff on the side. That's, you know, that's just.
I just run a few
I haven't got a
businesses
clue
on the
what
side.
I'm doing with any of it, to be honest.
Oh, well.
You know, I'm just winging it.
Make it up as you go along. Trust me, a lot of people do that, me included. And you've mentioned your daughters, and that, you know, you've spoke before about how strong and confident they are.
Yeah.
Do they view you differently, you know, with everything you've achieved? Do they look at that and go, you know, has your success influenced them? Are they strong and confident because you're strong and confident?
I hope. I don't know. I think, to be honest with you, I even before I started this, it was, you know, I've always tried to sort of encourage them to be who they are, and sort of, you know, be willing to take on the world. I mean, hopefully, I like to sort of hope, and not just for them, but anybody, that, to be honest with you, if somebody like me, who prior to this, you know, the 18 years before, had just been really bringing up.
Apologies, Amanda is just frozen slightly. Let's see if she's coming back. You're back. You disappeared. I'm so sorry.
No, I think it could be our internet. I think sometimes carrier pigeons could work better than broadband here. No, I think it's, you know, it's if I can, I suppose, show them and anybody else really that, you know, if you can take, you know, a slightly chaotic 40-something and do something, you know, that with no training, no business background, no thing, just knowing that I was fed up of soggy cuffs, and do something, and if that's shown them that, you know, they can do it and not take no for an answer, and basically just have the balls to try. And I've always said, you know, at the end of the day, with this whole process, if I'm gonna fail at it, I will fail fabulously. you know, and it won't be for want of trying. Have I got a clue what I'm doing? Not really. Do I wing it on a daily basis? Yes. Do I make mistakes? Absolutely. Do I learn from them? Definitely. And I own them. So, you know, and I'm human. So if it, you know, if I can just show them, I mean, to be honest with you, my girls are pretty pig-headed anyway. You know, I can't imagine where they get it from. But it's lovely that all of them, because I mean, all my kids range from 9 to 22. It's nice that they're all able in some form or another come on the journey with me.
I think that's really important, that if you're going to fail, you fail fabulously.
Absolutely.
I mean, wouldn't it be boring to just go, right, I'm going to do this project and I know absolutely everything about it, every single step. I know how it will turn out.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you'd snooze through that.
Yeah.
You know, you'd be bored. Your audience would be bored. Your customers, your supply chain. Doing it and just taking a punt and having a go. That's how the world has changed. Which is what you've done, because you are the first, the original, and there are hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of women out there going, "Oh, thank God," in the middle of a field somewhere.
And the funniest thing is, you know, it's the amount of people when, you know, that have now seen it, and you go to them and it's, you know, and it's like, yeah, you know, this is it, this is what we've registered, this is the thing, and they're like, Jesus, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
You know, it is one of those really thing, you know, I mean, I could say, oh, it's the most complex design in the world. It's not. You know, it just works. You know, yes, it's a pain in the backside getting it done and tweaking it, but you know, it's sometimes I think things can be looking you straight in the face all the time and you don't realize, and then you suddenly like, yeah, okay, well, let's try and do something about it.
And it's one of those things that you need a particular mindset, because for years before, when you went, right, I'm doing something about this, you will have had the same issue. Other people will have had the same issue. And it's just one of those, put up with it. Put up with it.
And that's the thing. I mean, you know, my top and bottom have never matched. So I've always ended up looking like I'm wearing my granddad's clothes in coveralls. And that's been the biggest thing. You know, I don't want to look like a potato. And that was why we've you know, I've sort of tried to think of how you can make it different. And to be honest with you, I think it takes, you know, a woman to design women's stuff. And I think a lot of the stuff out there is perhaps, you know, the main thing with men. I might be completely wrong, but it's almost like, yeah, well, we know what we need to do. We'll just pull it in, pull it here, pull it there, shorten the legs a bit, but other, you know, but it ultimately doesn't change the problem.
No.
You still need to go a bigger size, but also, you know, a lot of facilities aren't hygienic. They're not nice. And why should you have to take everything off when you want to go and have a wee?
That's it. And you know, if you're in the back of a barn, you know, running to the loo there through mud when you've been birthing lambs and everything, the last thing you want to be doing is wiping your sleeves and everything in whatever's on the floor.
Soggy cuffs are the worst, I think.
Yeah. Soggy cuffs, I love that. I don't love that.
No, but you get the gist.
I get it completely. I get it completely. I can't decide between Failing Fabulously, Soggy Cuffs, or Ryan Reynolds is Your Stalker for the name of the podcast.
Yeah.
Might have to be Soggy Cuffs. So, Amanda, finally, the last question I like to ask everybody is, what's the best advice you've ever received?
Oh, stay focused. Stay focused on what it is you're trying to achieve. Because once you've got an idea and you're running with it, you get bombarded from every direction of what's a really good idea and what will be really good and how to best do it and blah 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 blah, blah. And it's really noisy, and you have to stay focused to what your core product is, and that's all we've done. And everything else has followed on. We've got other stuff around it, but ultimately the coverall design is what we're about. That is us.
And from that sort of little acorns, great oak trees will grow, I'm sure.
Hopefully. And this week is really special because we've got into our first retailers.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Oh, that is fabulous. Oh,
So
congratulations.
last week I got to celebrate my 48th birthday by taking my first shipment down to them.
Oh, what a birthday. Oh, I love that. That is so cool. That is so
almost
cool.
gets as high as up there with Ryan, but not quite.
Well, I'm sure that, when he's next over at Wrexham, he'll pop down to Devon to see you.
Down for a cup of tea.
Cup of tea, slice of cake, be fine. I now want to see a picture of Ryan Reynolds with Dave the donkey. It's a life mission.
Who knows?
Who knows indeed. Thank you so much for talking to me, Amanda, and I wish you every success going forward with Three Donkeys. Thank you.
Thank you.